to the sacred gate.
Hello and welcome to the Sacred Gates here on YouTube. My name is Elora. If you are new to the channel, welcome aboard. Please feel free to subscribe so that you can continue to receive information on how to develop your healer's consciousness and your healer's body. If you've already a subscriber, thank you for tuning in once again. And for anyone who's listening, if you haven't already downloaded the free 20-minute audio that helps you to receive sacred keys of information that can absolutely change the way you view your body and your mind and healing and spirituality overall, please download this. The link is in the description box below. And just another announcement just before we get started on the topic today. On the 1st of November, I will be opening up the Patreon account connected to the Sacred Gates, where if you would like to become a patron, you will receive awesome guided meditations. I have often posted guided meditations here on YouTube, but I'm going to be moving all of the guided meditations over to the Patreon. So if you have loved those guided meditations, you will be able to receive them regularly on that Patreon account. And here on YouTube, I'll continue to provide you with principle-based information and techniques from time to time as well. So let's just jump straight into the topic today, which is all about somatic, being a somatic being. All of us are a somatic being, which means that we are a being that feels. We have a limbic system, and everything that we feel creates an outcome on some level. Now, often we hear the word somatic and we link it to making ourselves sick when we get emotional. The fact is, whether you make yourself sick or you don't make yourself sick, we are all somatic. Each of us is a somatic being, but you can create your somatic reality in either a negative outcome, negative path, detrimental path, or a positive path with a very excellent outcome for yourself. So an example of how we may use our somatic beingness to create a negative situation for ourselves is something that I am quite familiar with. Many years ago, I was very, very somatic in that negative way. So I would have a confrontation with someone that was very stressful, and I would get sick. I would just say, cry about something that was really upsetting me, and I would then kind of clench and contract my throat, which often happens when we get upset. And then that would lead into like an infection in my throat, and then I would get a cold, and it would all kind of steamroll from there into an illness. These kind of things happen to a lot of people, whether we're conscious of it or not. Many of us are often playing out negative pathways with our somatic beingness. The positive is that you can actually not only heal yourself, but make yourself stronger and healthier and boost your immune system through being a somatic being and knowing how to work with principles such as developing your consciousness and your body as a healer to allow yourself to experience yourself as the emotional being that you are, to strengthen yourself, to strengthen your physical body so that you're not always getting sick from stresses. So I think last year I did a video on why it is that we get sick from our feelings, and why it is that the emotional body is so attached to the physical body. And what that really means, which makes it easy to, let's just keep things really simple, is just say you are having an experience that is going to makes you sick. What actually happens is that you contract. So you become contracted in various parts of your body, and then these are often weak areas in your body, or they get weakened because they're always areas that you contract over time when you feel certain feelings that you do not want to feel. And of course, when you contract over and over and over again, it blocks those conduits, those rivers, and what I like to sometimes call the rivers and streams in your body, and you then get an accumulation of chi, you get tension, and eventually these things turn into illness, or very quickly can turn into illness. And so what we want to know are our weak areas. So For example, one of my sisters, her weak area are her glands. My glands very rarely in my throat, very, very rarely get kind of inflamed and large, when you can feel your glands just there. That very rarely happens to me. But for her, she definitely doesn't get sick very often, but when she does, she knows that's her, okay, I've got to look after myself. For me, it's my throat. And also my eyes. For other people, it could be it could get a migraine. So all of us have different areas where illness is able to enter. And that's another thing that I'm going to bring up in this. That's another series of podcast episodes I'd like to do, is actually on illness and how to prevent illness. There's a few things I learned over the years that were not obvious to me at the beginning, but they've really made a big difference in staying really healthy for longer periods of time. So I will also do a video on that very soon. But I just wanted to do a video on the things that we need to look out for when we are wanting to prevent ourselves from getting sick because our emotional body is so attached to our physical body. So first of all, you need to be committed to being honest about how you do make yourself sick. That's number one. You need to be honest. Honesty is what sheds light, allows us the movement to now transform. The next thing you need to do is to know thyself, know your weak areas, and know the situations, internal and external, that trigger you into negative somatic pathways within yourself. So for me, it was conversations with certain people. It was situations at the workplace I was at the time, where I was often getting somatic and sick. So there were different things that would happen externally and would then trigger internal experiences for me that would then show up these weak areas in my body. So you need to be honest. You need to know thyself, know your areas of weakness, and then you need to observe yourself and notice when you're starting to contract. Then you need to be willing to uncontract and let go of that need to be ill, to be sick, to get unwell. And you need to basically be very, very present. So for example, if I were getting sick from, just say, a difficult, uncomfortable, what I considered at the time a difficult and uncomfortable conversation with someone, I would start to clench up, my body would get tense, my throat would get tense, my jaw would get tense, all that stuff I didn't want to say, getting locked into the jaw. My throat especially would get tense, my face, my mind, my perception, my body, my bones, my blood, everything starts to contract, the lumbar, the spine, everything, the hands, the wrists, the pelvis, the quads, right? Everything, the chakras. So I committed to actually uncontracting in the very moment. It's very important that we use those moments where we don't want to be open and feel vulnerable, because we feel vulnerable, to open and uncontract into that, to be flexible enough. And by uncontracting within those actual moments, not only did I notice that I stopped getting sick, I also noticed that those moments that were once very confronting, just say they were at a 10, kind of became an 8, then they became a 7, and they kind of resonated more at a 5 level of intensity, and then it basically reduced to the point where it was still kind of, I didn't really like the experience, but I certainly wasn't getting sick anymore because of it, because I was uncontracting, and so the experience didn't even seem as threatening anymore. So it's very, very powerful when we take ownership of the tools that we have, honesty, willingness, and then really committing to the practice. And now for the last part of this video, I just want to quickly touch on the gateways. So there are gateways that we need to pay attention to. So for example, the first gateway that can cause illness if we don't do anything about it is the gateway of contraction. So there are many, many gateways. One of them is the gateway of contraction. So when we're feeling that we are contracting, we need to uncontract. When we start to feel, that's the first symptom, of illness, is contraction, especially if we're finding we're in a situation where we tend to then manifest into like a negative somatic response, such as a sore throat. For me, it's the sore throat. So the second gate that we need to pay attention to, if we miss the first opportunity to uncontract and uncontract the throat, just say you're crying or you're upset, you're angry, and you start to feel that area of your body start to close up, you need to uncontract. If you miss that first gate, the next symptom, the second gate, will be the symptom of, just say, a sore throat throat, or glands that have risen up, or a migraine, or lower back pain, whatever it may be for you. There may be a few different gateways that your body expresses the onset of illness. The second gate is that actual next symptom, which is the more physicalized symptom in your physical body. So it's gotten caught in the contraction wasn't released, it's gotten caught in your emotional body, and then it gets kind of expressed through your physical body. Then you have to act quite quickly in order to prevent yourself from having to go through a whole entire, illness, like a cold, for example. You need to act quickly if you missed the first gate. The second gate, just say it's the sore throat, for example, you need to then start really working on that. If you miss that, what I've noticed, and many other people have noticed, that when they miss that second gate, they miss kind of getting onto it soon enough. You know how illness develops, to say if it is a cold, it starts at your weak point and then eventually it kind of goes to your head and then it goes to your lungs as that last exit point through the lungs. So you want to prevent it from getting stuck in your head and then in the lungs. Once it gets into your head, especially the lungs at that last point, it's much harder to let it go. You can, but you've already had to kind of go through. And the weaker you get through illness, so the less coherent you are mentally, the less easier it is to actually focus and heal yourself. So getting onto it at that first gate or second gate is much more ideal than trying to heal yourself later on. And I do advise that you do try to heal yourself at any point along the way, but it can be avoided. Entire illnesses can be completely avoided. So we are somatic beings, but we can direct our somatic experiences either down a positive path or a negative path. The more responsibility we take, the more committed we are to using the tools of our awareness in our body and integrating and expressing ourselves as a healer's consciousness and body, the more faith we have, the more experience and positive outcome we have of healing ourselves and preventing illness or helping ourselves when we have become ill, the more confidence we have in our ability, our tools. So the next time you feel that first gate, that second gate, you are able to prevent, the more you know yourself as well. So I hope this has been helpful. You are a somatic being, just like I am. Maybe you have been making yourself ill. And so if you would like to learn more about this, make sure you subscribe. And if you would like to learn and really, really become familiar with the practices and the principles, but especially the principles of Tayshara, I do encourage you to become a patron on the 1st of November to the Sacred Gates Patreon account, because we will be doing guided meditations where I will be helping you to work on specific issues, physical issues as well. And healing is completely possible for you if you haven't already experienced it. I absolutely believe that you can heal yourself, and the path is a wonderful path. So please join me on the Patreon channel for guided meditations. And if the YouTube channel is enough for you, please subscribe, and there'll be lots more sharing here as well. Don't forget to download that link in the description below if you would like to receive some of the major missing pieces that really helped me to actually heal myself as well and change a lot of my perceptions I had around healing into more empowering perceptions and beliefs around healing. You can access that download link below, and you will receive some emails from the Sacred Gates. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye-bye for now.